So, Bernie, what do you want to talk about this week? Ballot items?
Now, what I would like to talk about are the ballot items that the people of Burlington will be voting on March 3rd. I think a lot of attention has been and will be devoted to the mayoral race and the aldermanic races and the school board races. But there are a half a dozen very, very important ballot items that the people of Burlington will be voting on, which are going to go a long way to determining the future of this city. So what I would like to do this evening is go over some of those ballot items and tell you what I think about them. We'll discuss basically five. The first ballot item that will be on the ballot is a charter change increasing the maximum school tax for the City of Burlington schools. Essentially, what we are talking about here is a $1.1 million property tax increase for the Burlington School Department. Now, I am supporting this tax increase not because I am enthusiastic about property taxes. In fact, I am very much opposed to the property tax as a means for funding education and municipal services. But in fact, our schools do need new money, and they need new money primarily because of the very unfair state aid to education formula which presently exists. What we are doing in Montpelier, what the City of Burlington is doing in Montpelier and working with our legislative representatives, is trying very, very hard to get a fair shake for the taxpayers of the City of Burlington and for the school children of Burlington. Now, there is a possibility, and I think we should hold this out honestly, although not tell people something definitely is going to happen when it may not, but there is a possibility that if we are successful in getting a fair state aid to education formula this year, we can in fact not need to draw up or call upon this tax increase. But I think clearly the safe way to go is to pass this property tax increase for our schools so that we'll have the quality of education that our kids require. Once again, the schools are requesting a $1.1 million property tax increase. If we can be successful in changing the Morse-Giuliani formula, we can in fact bring in even more money in increased state aid to education, which will negate the need for any call-up upon the local property tax. But I think we've clearly got to pass it because that may not happen in Montpelier. On the other hand, we're fighting against something that's worse than presently exists, which is the foundation plan, which not only would not increase funding for Burlington at all, but in years to come, in my opinion, would take money out of the City of Burlington into Montpelier, would wreak havoc with our school system. So once again, the first item on the ballot is a property tax increase of about $1.1 million devoted to the Burlington schools. I support that property tax increase. And while we're campaigning for it, at the same time, we're going to be down in Montpelier fighting for a fair state aid to education formula. Because if we get that, then in fact we're not going to need to draw up and call upon the property tax increase. But the schools do need this $1.1 million increase, and I will be supporting that. The second item on the ballot deals with a tax increase for the Burlington Police Department. And this tax increase is a 4-cent increase, which will bring into the police department approximately $424,000. I am supportive of this effort. The fact of the matter is that our city is growing. It is no secret, I think, from one end of the state to the other, that the state of Vermont and the city of Burlington are experiencing crime problems. Today, in my view, the Burlington Police Department is in better shape than it has been for many, many years. In years past, there was a very, very high turnover rate. A lot of the police officers were leaving. In fact, 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking at a situation in which about 25% of our police officers were leaving every single year, and that's a hell of a way to run a police department. Today, the department is virtually at full capacity, which is 85 men and women. We have started a number of new programs where police are paying attention to special problems, but it is my view that we need to expand the police force, and what this property tax increase would do would be to expand the police department by 7 new members. In addition, there is money available to help us expand the auxiliary police department and the Summer Parks Patrol, as well as some domestic violence concerns that we have, sexual abuse problems, and so forth. So I think that it's important, as our population increases, that we do expand the police department. We will soon be opening a new substation out in the new North End, which I think will be of help to the people in that area of our city. And it will simply mean that we're going to have more police officers out on the street, walking the beat. So I support that. This is part of a long-term program which would add about 20 new police officers to the city of Burlington over a 5-year period. And the first year is a goal of adding 7 new officers as well as beefing up a number of programs. This is a tax increase which has the unanimous support of the Board of Aldermen. The Police Commission is enthusiastic about it, and my hope is that we'll pass that. The third item on the ballot is a general obligation bond issue for waterfront improvements. And I am very excited about this bond issue because what the passage of this bond issue will do is will enable us to continue our efforts to open up all of Lake Champlain for the people of our city, in fact, for the people of our region. In my view, we are making some very real progress on Burlington's waterfront in getting more people to get down to the waterfront and to utilize that extraordinary resource that we have. In the last couple of years, we have constructed a bicycle path, which is being widely utilized. In fact, this weekend, we had many hundreds of people out on the bicycle path using it for cross-country skiing. And I want to urge the people of our region, the city of Burlington, to remember that the bicycle path is not only a warm weather amenity, but it is also being used in the wintertime for cross-country skiing. The Parks Department has a new skidoo. They plow the path on a regular basis, and it's really going to be one of the nicest cross-country ski areas in our region, and we urge people to take advantage of it. We have also, in the last year, as many people will know, expanded Perkins Pier Park. We have about double the amount of park space down there that we used to have. And we have also recently acquired the mobile oil beach in the south end of the city. So we are making some real progress in opening up Burlington's waterfront for more utilization on the part of all of our people, regardless of their income. And what this bond issue will do is enable us to continue that effort. Now, what are some of the amenities that we're talking about? Number one, we want to complete the bicycle path so that finally it will go from one end of the city to the other. We want to widen it at certain areas where it is too narrow. We want to develop and construct a boathouse. And the boathouse I am excited about because it will enable many of our citizens who do not own their own boats to also do boating on Lake Champlain. The boathouse will allow for inexpensive rentals for canoes, rowboats, paddle boats, sailboats. So you can go down there for a few bucks. You can also enjoy Lake Champlain. It will also be used in the wintertime as a warming area where people who are ice skating or otherwise using the waterfront can come down and warm up and get a hot chocolate and be able to enjoy the waterfront in the wintertime as well. So it is the boathouse is both a warm weather and a cold weather amenity. Furthermore, we're talking about and will develop a new boat access area. I think everybody knows that in the summertime, at least, Perkins Pier boat access area is really overutilized. It is too busy. And this plan will call for the construction of another boat access area, in fact, near the Moran plant. There are going to be additional improvements. For example, I just mentioned the fact that we have recently acquired the mobile oil beach. Well, there's going to be some improvements there, toilet facilities, and so forth. The bottom line on this waterfront bond issue is that for a large area along the lake, there are going to be significant improvements for public enjoyment. All of these improvements are taking place on city-owned property already. I think one of the problems that exists that we're trying to rectify right here is the fact that we as a city do own a lot of land on the waterfront. We have not improved that land to the degree that we should. This bond issue will enable us to go a long way to improving city-owned land, bringing more people down to enjoy that extraordinary resource. And once again, to use the waterfront for year-round activities, not just during the summertime. So I am very excited about this waterfront bond issue. It received, as did the other ballot items, it received unanimous support from the Board of Aldermen. It has the strong support of the Burlington Parks Commission, the strong support of the Public Works Commission. So I think we as a city are feeling pretty unanimous that this is an excellent idea, and we would appreciate the support of the voters on that issue.
If the school tax increase is approved here in Burlington, and the legislature also makes it possible for more money to get to Burlington, what happens to that then?
What would happen then would be my very, very, very strong recommendation. In fact, it would be unacceptable to me if the school commission did otherwise. What would happen then, if the schools were able to acquire some or all of what they need by increases in state aid to education, and if the property tax increase for the schools were passed, then what we would do is simply not call up the tax increase for the schools. So people's taxes would not go up. Obviously, that's the preferable alternative, and that's what we're striving for. So the point here, to answer your question, is that you could have people voting for a tax increase, but that by no means obligates the schools to call up that money. And in fact, I would do my best to prevent that. I don't think that there would be a debate about that. We had that similar problem last year. So once again, we want to see that property tax increase passed, because we're not all certain what is going to happen in Montpelier. We won't know until after March meeting. But our job here is to fight as hard as we can to get decent state aid to education, but at the same time make certain that the property tax increase for the schools is passed. But once again, if we do get some or all of what we need from Montpelier, then the property tax increase will not be called for. So it's possible to have a positive vote on this tax increase for schools and yet not see it called up. And obviously, that's exactly what we would like to see happen. Did you have other questions, Matt?
No, that's it.
Okay. Two other questions that I would like to discuss at some length. Item number 4 is titled a Charter Change, Authorization for Local Property Tax Relief and Renters Rebate Program and Local Property Transfer Tax. This is a very interesting charter change, which I am strongly supporting. It is my feeling, I think the feeling of almost anybody who knows anything about local government throughout America, that the property tax, for a wide variety of reasons, is an absurd way to fund education and municipal services. And the major reason that it is an absurd mechanism is that it does not tax people on their ability to pay. It taxes them on the home in which, in which they live. And in Vermont, we are one of the states in the Union most dependent upon the property tax. The bottom line of all of what I'm saying is that you're seeing many elderly people, poor people, who are paying much more in property taxes than they can, in fact, afford to pay. What this charter change does is enable the city of Burlington to develop what I consider to be a reasonably progressive source of funding, which is the property transfer tax. Now, that's not a property tax increase. The property transfer tax is a tax which is paid every time property is bought and sold within the state of Vermont. At the present moment, it's 0.5%, and all of that money goes to state government to be used as they see fit. What we are proposing here is an increase in the property transfer tax of 0.5%, which would bring into the city of Burlington about $400,000. That money then would be used in two basic ways. Number one, it would fund a supplement to the statewide property tax and renters rebate program. Right now, I think as most viewers are aware, there is a program which has been in existence since 1973, which enables people to get help if their property taxes are too high compared to their income. And we urge people to take advantage of that program. It's a good program. One of the major problems with that program is, despite the fact that it's 14 years old, 85% of those people who are eligible for it don't take advantage of it. And the reason for that, in my view, is the state is doing a reasonably pathetic job in making people aware of the program or making it easy for people to take advantage of that. In any case, there certainly are people who are taking advantage of it. And what this program would do is enable the low-income people who are eligible for property tax rebates to, in fact, to expand that program. So, in fact, to make it possible that the lowest income people in the state of Vermont, in the city of Burlington, and renters would get very, very significant tax relief, and in fact would not have to pay any property taxes within the city of Burlington. It would help the lowest income property owners, the lowest income renters in the city. It's a good idea, I think. And we have now developed a source of revenue which would fund that program. There was a debate, as you recall, on the Board of Aldermen about this, and that some of us while being very sympathetic to the concept, couldn't support it unless we identified a source of revenue to help fund the program. We have identified that source of revenue. Now, the other point that I should make on this is that if we pass this charter change, and I very much hope that we do pass this charter change, it's going to go down to Montpelier, and we're going to have to make the fight in Montpelier for them, again, to ask them their permission to allow us to develop this program. 2 years ago, we had a similar concept before the people of Burlington. The people of Burlington voted very strongly for it. Unfortunately, the legislature did not let us implement the program, and I have very strong concerns, as I think many viewers know, about the power that the state exercises against local communities. If the people of Burlington vote for this, we're going to go down to Montpelier and make the case that we have the right to develop tax reform programs within our own city to protect those people who need protecting from high property taxes. And we're going to be as strong as we can down there. And I think we're going to have Republican, Democratic, and progressive support. So I would urge people to vote yes on this program. It is not a property tax increase. There will be a 0.5% increase added to the tax when people buy and sell property. And there's a lot of that going on in the city of Burlington. We're a hot market right now. And in fact, I'm going to talk about the impacts of being a hot market in one moment. That will raise about $400,000 in new revenue, and that money, in fact, will go to help elderly people who are poor, low-income people, low-income elderly people. It will help renters who are right now having a hard time paying their rent, paying their property taxes, and it will add to the statewide rebate program which exists. So it's a good idea, and I hope that people will vote for that one.
Why is Vermont more reliant on the property tax than other states? I've heard you say that a number of times.
Well, I've been saying it for 6 years, and what concerns me is that the foundation plan that the governor is talking about will even make us that much more dependent upon the property tax. I think it's a question of inertia. What essentially happened is there was once a time in our history where, roughly speaking, you could equate a person's wealth with the amount of property that they owned, and that was especially true when Vermont was an agricultural community. If you had somebody who owned a 400-acre farm, you could roughly say that that person was doing twice as well as somebody who owned a 200-acre farm. And you would have, your property taxes would reflect the disparity in income and the disparity in wealth. It made sense at one point in our history. But I think if everybody knows, property itself, especially the home that you live in, is no longer a genuine reflection of your wealth. And what has happened is, while many, many other states in the Union have become more, have looked more at income methods of raising revenue, have looked at other broad-based taxes, Vermont has not done that. So, for example, where on the national average, about 50% of the funding for education comes from state government through a number of broad-based taxes, here in the state of Vermont it's about 1/3, whereas, and about 2/3 of our funding comes from the property tax. So we are much more dependent upon the property tax. The foundation proposal would take us in exactly the wrong direction. What this program will do is supplement, this idea will supplement the statewide property tax relief program for low-income citizens, and it's a good idea. And we have identified a source of revenue to help us provide that tax relief to people, and that's the property transfer tax, which is collected when property is bought and sold. And you have many businesses involved in those transactions. Occasionally you have real estate speculation involved in that transaction, and I think this is a reasonable way to raise revenue to help people who are in need. Also, some of that money can go to the general operation of city government, and at a time that we've lost close to $1 million in revenue sharing, we can use that money. So I fully support Proposition 4 on the ballot, which is a charter change for authorization for local property tax relief and renters rebate programs, and the imposition of a local property transfer tax. But once again, even if we pass that as a city, we're going to have to go down to Montpelier and get the governor's support for it and get the legislature support for it. I think we have a shot at doing that. Item number 5 is an interesting ballot item. And that is an attempt to deal with a very, very serious problem in the city of Burlington, and that is the conversion of apartment units into condominiums. And the title of this ballot item is called Approval of an Ordinance, Regulation of Conversion of Rental Housing to condominiums or cooperatives. What essentially this will do is tell those people who now own apartment units that the city of Burlington is less than enthusiastic about the conversion of those units to expensive condominiums. Now, the immediate crisis that we face, this is a problem that has been going on in the city for a number of years in many areas of the city, but the immediate crisis which has provoked the bringing forth of this ordinance is the potential problem that will exist at the Northgate Apartments in Burlington's new North End. Northgate is, in fact, the largest housing development in the city of Burlington. If my memory is correct, there are something like, golly, I can't remember, I think over 250 units of housing there. That housing was built some 20 years ago with low-interest loans from the federal government. And the agreement that was reached between the federal government and the developer is that the units there are going to be rental units, and they're going to be inexpensive. They're going to be affordable to low and moderate income people. And that, in fact, is the case. In many ways, Northgate today in Burlington probably provides the best quality low and moderate income housing that exists in the city. There are people there living in very decent housing units who are not paying a hell of a lot in rent. They are paying a lot for electricity to heat their homes, I should point out. But in terms of rent, it is really quite a good deal. What our fear is that within a couple of years, when the 20-year contract expires between the federal government and the local developer, what our feeling is that what will happen in Northgate is something that has happened in other similar type projects around the region. And that is that those apartments will simply go out on the open market, and either rents will double or triple, or, in fact, they will be converted into condominiums, and the people who are living in Northgate will, by and large, be displaced. They simply will not be able to live there. Now, Northgate is, once again, the single largest source of affordable housing in the city of Burlington, and we are determined not to see those people displaced. Now, what the condo conversion bill will do is force the developer to give prior warning to the people who are living there, and give the people there or the city an opportunity to buy the development and to maintain it for affordable housing. And it's, again, the crisis situation right now deals with Northgate, but it is a potential problem that exists in other areas of the city. And I'm strongly supportive of this condo conversion bill. And those are 5 of the items that are going to be on the ballot. I'm supporting all of them. And it's important that they be passed. The city of Burlington today, in many respects, is probably in as good a shape as it has been for many, many years. Our unemployment rate consistently remains one of the lowest in the country. We're making significant progress on improving our infrastructure, our streets and our sidewalks, our sewer system. We have a wide variety of programs for people. We're moving forward in terms of housing. If we are going to maintain the vitality of this community, if we're going to be able to do the things that have to be done for those people who do not have a lot of money, for elderly people, for poor people, we're going to have to continue to come up with innovative ideas. We can't stand still. Quality education, very important for the kids of Burlington. For the first time in many, many years, we now have more school children entering Burlington schools than the previous year. We have reversed the population exodus. We are now bringing families back into Burlington. We're building housing. We're not going to be able to continue to do that. We're not going to be able to continue to hold on to the middle class. We're not going to be able to have the decent quality of schools that the children of Burlington are entitled to unless we maintain the improved quality that we have brought about in the last few years. Today, the schools in Burlington, in my view, are in significantly better shape than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are making progress. We cannot fall back. We've got to pass the property tax increase, and equally important, we have got to go to Montpelier to make sure that Burlington gets a fair shake in state-aid education. Number 2, crime is a problem. Compared to other cities throughout America, the crime problem in Burlington is in no comparison. But it is a problem. People are concerned. We are growing. As we develop the waterfront, as we build more housing, we want to make certain that all areas of the city of Burlington have adequate police protection. The police department today is in better shape than it has been for many years. But we do need, in my view, more police officers. The passage of the police tax will bring us 7 new fully sworn police officers expand the auxiliary police, expand the parks patrol, and provide us with beefed up programs in a number of other areas to protect women, for example, who are walking the streets. So it is important that we pass that issue. It is important, once again, that we go forward in making the people-oriented waterfront that all of us want. We have a lot of city property down there that is owned by the people of Burlington. It is not being utilized as well as it should be. We need to improve some of that property. That's what the waterfront bond issue will do. Widespread support. It'll give us a waterfront that all of our people can enjoy. And it's very, very important, I think, that we pass that. Once again, many citizens in our city are having a hard time paying property taxes. Renters are having a hard time paying the increased rents that are going on in our city. The property transfer tax is a reasonably progressive tax which will enable us to fund property tax relief, supplement the statewide program, and I'm supportive of that. And lastly, as I just mentioned, it is important to protect tenants who right now are living in affordable housing from being thrown out of those housing. It is unacceptable. Right now, in the city of Burlington, the truth of the matter is that you can have a landlord coming in announcing to an elderly person who has lived in a unit for many, many years and saying, bye-bye, we're converting this apartment to an expensive condo. The passage of this ordinance by the people of Burlington will prevent that. It is not going to solve all the problems by any means, but it will give us some tools to protect tenants who have a right to live in affordable housing. So we have some very important ballot items on. The city is moving forward vigorously. This will give us the passage of these changes, bond items, ballot items, will give us more protection to protect the people.
How would those people in Northgate ever be able to buy a place like that?
Well, they're not going to be able to buy it out of their own pocket. So clearly what you're going to need is a new source of funding. There is no reason, for example, no theoretical reason why somebody else could not be owning that complex and continuing to charge affordable rent. Or, in fact, seeing a cooperative develop where the people themselves are paying into their own equity. In other words, there are a number of ways that you can maintain affordable housing at Northgate. There really are. One way that you simply can't is by saying to the people who live there, okay, you're living in an apartment where you're paying $250 or $300 a month. You can stay there, but you're going to have to pay $80,000 or $90,000 for the condominium. Those people can't afford that kind of increase. But what you can do is talk about cooperative housing, for example, where people will still be paying affordable rent or affordable mortgages, which will go into their own equity so that someday they will, in fact, fully own those units. There are other sources of funding that we can look for. There are a variety of mechanisms that are available to us, but we're going to need time to develop those mechanisms. And if people are thrown out, we'll be looking at the horse who's outside of the barn and the barn door is closed. And that's what we don't want to prevent. That's what we want to prevent, is to make sure that people have a fair shot at staying in those units at affordable rates. Let me just chat up. We've gone over, I think, the major ballot items that the people will be voting on March 3rd. They're very important. I hope that people study them. If people have any questions, they can please call up my office at 658-9300, and we'd be happy to provide any additional information that people might need. There are a number of other important issues that are presently facing the city of Burlington. I want to touch on maybe one more or two. The city recently had a meeting. We had a meeting a couple of days ago where we dealt with the problems of our landfill. And I think, as most people know, the landfill in the city of Burlington, after many, many years of operation, is going to be phased out within 3 years. Right now, the Public Works Department is looking at a number of alternative approaches. We're looking at 2 regional solid waste districts, one in central Vermont, one here in Chittenden County. And we're also exploring our own options because we have got to move, in fact, a lot faster than a number of communities. My own feeling is the landfill today is probably being run, not probably, I think definitely run, in better condition than it's ever been. And we will be out of there in 2 or 3 years and in a new location. So that's an important issue that people, I think, should be aware of. Another issue that came up at that same meeting of the Board of Aldermen dealt with the very significant increase in insurance rates that is being requested by Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a 58% increase for non-group subscribers. Those are people who are not working for a company. And that's a very significant increase. The Board of Aldermen went on record unanimously in opposing that rate increase, and we will be doing what we can to participate in hearings and put as much pressure as we can on the state banking department to make sure that outrageous rate increase. That's going to hurt a lot of people, does not go through.
That show will be on tomorrow night, Wednesday night.
All right. I think those are some of the major items that we are dealing with. It's a busy time, but once again, the passage of these ballot items, I think, is very important for the future of the city of Burlington. I hope people will study these items thoroughly. We'll be happy to answer any questions that people might have, and we look forward to Burlingtonians.